Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Apter Chat, brought to you by VOC, Voice of Choice Nation. Don't forget to go to vocnation.com for all the great podcasts and videos. And don't forget that every Wednesday night, Ken Resnick, Killer Ken Resnick, the broadcaster, the Voice of Choice, Bruce Ward, and Wonderful Willie here get together, and the podcast and the video drops for Wrestling with History. Lots of good stuff. So today, this is very special. I get a lot of books in the mail from people saying, "Hey, Bill, can you plug my book?" Yeah, I'll plug your book. But there's a handful of them that I really, the day I get them, I just want to sit down and read away as much as I can. I had an adopted nephew in the wrestling business, and his name was Chris Candido. I knew him from practically the day he started wrestling, maybe even before that, up until the days when he, unfortunately, when he passed away. He was a very dear friend. I had a great time with he and with Tammy Sitch during the prime Body Donna days, and he'd come up to the office and pose for pictures alone and with her. It was a great time. And during that period of time, I got to meet his terrific brother, Jonny Candido. And right now, all the way from New Jersey, since I'm in the burbs of Philadelphia, welcome to the Apter Chat, Jonny Candido. It's so great to see you.
Hey, great to see you again, too. How's it going, brother?
Good. It's going really good. And so I got this in the mail, you and along with John Cosper. You have the same book?
Yeah, check it out.
Wait, wow, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. You and John Cosper put this book together, and it's a loving memoir and tribute to your brother. And there's great pictures in it, great stories, great text about him and you and all the guys like Bam Bam Bigelow and New Jack and Sabu and Taz. But why now? This has just been published recently. What made you embark on this with John?
So what happened was I started writing a book in like 2010, and let's say probably for the last 4 years of Chris's life, I was with him like every second. I had gotten like 120, 140 pages in, and I read it. I'm like, I haven't even scratched the surface. So I put it aside. Then John Cosper was writing Tracy Smothers' book, and Tracy Smothers said, you have to do Chris Candido's book.
Yeah.
He put me with John Cosper, and then I told John Cosper, I said, look, I have a book that I was writing years ago. I'll email it to you. I emailed it to him. He said, this is great stuff. How about I make you co-author? And, so he kind of tells like the X's and O's, and I kind of tell a lot of the personal stories behind what was going on.
Yeah, you do. With me, Chris was, like I mentioned, an adopted nephew. He had that spark in his eye for the business and for people. What is the thing that, as his brother, and it's in the book that you didn't know till later on you were a half brother, but you're his brother.
Didn't matter, yeah.
What was the thing you learned most from him during his incredible life?
Just to always be nice to everyone, just to be respectful, be nice. My brother was very like out there.
Yeah.
He put himself out there. Like he wouldn't care. Like, I know you read in the earlier, in the earlier chapters when I had big parties at his house. But later, when we were like,
and you maxed out his credit card a couple of dozen times. That's
yeah.
Credit card.
Well, later in our 20s, and in my 20s and his 30s, he had a house in Manasquan that was right on the river.
New Jersey.
Right? Time kayaking. We had a fishing boat. He was just very inclusive and loved everyone. Was just a very nice guy, and that's how I try to be also. So
in terms of wrestling, he was an excellent technical wrestler. He also was someone who the fans either got behind or booed. Tell us, what was your favorite Chris Candido era of what he was doing in the wrestling business?
I gotta say, so when I was younger, seeing him come out in ECW. And I mean, that like blew my mind because I hadn't seen anything like that before. And I really enjoyed that, but I really enjoyed more toward the very end of his career, before he passed away, because that's when he got like reinvigorated with like so much not that he ever lost passion for the business, but he just like, he fell in love with it again almost. He had a clear head, and he's just like that. I think my favorite work it was that time, like the late 04, early 05, when he was a Midwest champ, when he was working for TNA, and he was just so happy to be doing that. You know, it was like he when he cleaned up his life and stopped using substances, it was almost like overnight that he was back on top, back on TV. It was great.
He looked great. I mean, I remember seeing him back when he was in TNA, and I said, "Man, he's been reborn." He looked wonderful, and I talked to him on the phone a bunch of times. And he used to call me Uncle Willie or Wonderful Willie all the time, and he couldn't wait for me to come down and see him again.
I remember when it really like clicked for me was in 2004 at the Amazura Center in Jamaica, Queens. I wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow, and Chris wrestled Mike Cruel in the main event. And I heard them going over their match, and Chris was like, for the finish, I'm gonna do the top rope power bomb. And I'm like, oh geez, this guy is like, 6'2", 6'3", heavy, a lot heavier than Chris. And I was hoping that he was gonna pull it off. He pulled it off flawlessly, and I was just, he's back. It made me so happy.
I'm going to ask you the loaded question.
Go ahead.
If Chris was here today, where do you think he would be in the whole scheme of pro wrestling?
He would never. He would either be still like in the ring working, being a manager or something like that, or more likely being like a trainer for like NXT or for Impact or for any of the federations.
Oh God, I could have seen him as a trainer in NXT. Absolutely.
That's wrestling's what he loved from day one. That's all he cared about. It's all he loved. And if he was here today, that's probably what he'd be doing. He'd be an agent, or he'd be he'd be teaching people.
Tell us what you remember, because a lot of fans didn't know him until the days of the Body Donnas. What are the good times you remember about him talking to you and about the Body Donnas?
It was just like validation for him that he made it. Like when he was during the Body Donnas time, because my family's very like, go to college, do the right thing, get a job, get a degree, and he wasn't happy unless he was wrestling. He would never.
I know.
And so when he did get his WWE contract, it was just like, see, I told you so. I can make money doing what I love. And it just showed me that, like, if you really, he had just such tunnel vision, and just, he was so, he was so determined that, those are the things that stuck out with me.
Yeah.
That about just determination, hard work pays off, and just always be nice and cordial to people and treat them with respect, and that's how it was.
Did you have a favorite match of his that you ever saw? I mean, was there a top? If somebody said, what was Chris Candido's best match that you saw, what was it?
Me and his cage match was pretty awesome.
Which one? I didn't hear.
I said me and him had a cage match that was really awesome.
You did? Where was that?
That was in where was it? In Keensburg. It was. I remember in there was a website called Declaration of Independence.
Very familiar with it. Great website.
In 2004, me and Balls were number 1. We won Match of the Year for a tables, ladders, and chairs match, and Chris and Cruel were number 2, and then number 3 was me and Chris in the cage match. And I just remember that because I was so green, I was nervous, and I was like, let's do this. He's like, you can't really call spots in a cage match. He's like, let's just go out there and, here's the finish, whatever. So I just remember us going out there, and him climbing the cage. I'm climbing the cage next to him. He falls off. Now I'm on top of the cage standing there. I just did a crossbody off the top of the cage. It was so much fun. But I think a great match of his was that cruel match, like wrestling Homicide. A lot
Oh yeah.
like him and Homicide, him versus Punk, him versus Claudio Castagnoli.
I remember him again. I remember him against Punk, and that was excellent. It was an
Those
excellent match. Yeah.
it's like those guys kind of made him step his game up, and in return they stepped their game up, and it was just perfect. He used to love it when he used to come back from from the Midwest or wherever, and he'd tell me, he's like, oh, I had these great matches. There's just Punk's amazing, and Claudio Castagnoli comes out like he's a prince or something, and he would just love it. And then when I went out there with him a couple times, we just had a great time every time we were together, which was
That's great. That's great.
had,
What if you could write? Well, you did write a book about him. No gimmicks needed. I was going to say, what would you title the book? And he never needed any gimmicks. He was a gimmick.
yeah.
He was his own. He was his own built-in. He didn't need somebody to help him get a gimmick to be in the business. He had his own gimmick, and of course, a lot of the people remember the days back when, and we not going to ignore this. Back in the days when he was with Tammy, I mean, they were in ECW. They were like on top of the world.
Yeah, it was. That was a great time for me, also because I say it in the book, but we were, his first time in ECW. I'm at my Aunt Kathy's house, and a limousine pulls up. My mom's like, Johnny Cook's here. That's what we called him, Cook. It's a long story, but Johnny Cook's here. He wants to pick you up and take you someplace. So I went out to the car. He's like, he's in his gear. He's like, bro, I'm so nervous. I'm going to start this new federation in Philly. And, I don't know, I was like 14. I was like, are these people going to know who he is? These aren't WWF people. Are they going to know who he is? I was all nervous for him. We get there. There's all people looking into the limousine to see who it is. And I remember that night he worked Spike Dudley, and he hit him with a power bomb off the top ropes, cut a promo. And the on top that night was Brian Lee and Tommy Dreamer in that scaffold match.
Yeah.
Like the craziest stuff I ever saw. So from then on, I was traveling with them all over. Even when they went to Florida, they brought me with them.
That's great.
Story in the book about that.
You were the kid. You were the kid with them. Yeah, you were the relative.
Yeah. So. Oh, and also when they did the Blue World Order on well, they had me and my friends come out to the ring with signs that said Blue World Order, and we came through the crowd. I was a fat little kid, and I went to step over the railing, and I fell flat on my face right on TV.
Oh, I read that in the book.
Yeah, but I came back to the locker room. Everybody's like, "Oh, kid, you got to pop." I'm like, "Oh, somebody grabbed my leg and I fell. It wasn't my fault." But I really just fell. It's funny, but
I don't want you to give everything away, because these great stories are in this book. No gimmicks needed. Chris Candido. Where can people find the book?
They can get it if they want a signed edition. You can go to eatsleepwrestle.com. That's John Cosper's website.
Okay.
Signed by me and John. And you can also get it on Amazon if you just type in Chris Candido, no gimmicks needed. You can get it.
I highly recommend it. And one of the things that we didn't talk about real quick, and again, if you want to know why they called him Cook, it's in the book. That rhymes. This is the Book of Cook.
There it is. It's cookbook.
Just came up with that, yeah. But listen, I got to bring this up. All right, there is one great match that you didn't talk about.
Oh, have you ever wrestled him before?
Wonderful Willie happened to have a short match. He was one of the people setting up the ring at the Meadowlands one night with some of the other wrestlers, and I got in the ring, and Tammy took my video camera, and you be okay if I show this match?
I was gonna say, I think you might have to show the hurting you put on him.
Yeah, I had him tap out. No, I mean, he tapped out to my figure 4 clock, and there was something you did not see, and eventually I need to send this to you. There was an entire office match for the Cow Championship Office Wrestling match based upon what happened at the Meadowlands. There was an entire story, and I'm going to make sure you get to see that. I cannot show it publicly. I gave my word to people, but maybe eventually it'll get out there. It was my championship office wrestling match, the cow title against Chris Candido, managed by Tammy, and you wouldn't believe what happened. But right now, again, you can get the book on Amazon, or what was the other website?
The other website is Eat, Sleep, Wrestle. You can go there and get signed copies, signed by me, signed by John, and has a little Candido bookmark in it.
Okay, and where can people find you on social media?
You can find me, anything wrestling related will be on Twitter at Candido18. And then just my regular Facebook is just Jonny Ray, JONNYREA, Hoboken, New Jersey.
All right, sounds good.
The people find me.
Hoboken, New Jersey, old Frank Sinatra hometown there.
Yep.
All right, so thank you so very much. And right now, with your permission, we're going to go back in time to the Meadowlands with Wonderful Willie against Chris Candido. It's one of my favorite moments. It just shows the bonding that he and I, my adopted nephew, and I had. This is Bill Apter, and for Chris Candido's family, his brother Johnny, as I always say, we'll see you at the matches eventually.
I told you, at the Meadowlands, they would beat him, annihilate him, whoop him. Come on, get up. Get up. Get him up. Ask him. Come on, get him up. Get him up. Get him up, Rick. Get him up. Let's go. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me show you. Come on. Come on. Hi, Bill. Hi. Hi, Doug. So what's new? How's everything? Let me know when we're on.
You're on.
Come on. Come on. Ask him. Ask him. Ask him. I didn't hear. No. Come on. Come on. I can't hear. You give up? I can't hear. Come on.
My career has ended before it even began by a magazine
I'm
guy.
almost in, Taylor. Hurry up.
Uh-oh, Bill!
Yeah.
Wait a minute,
Huh?
what does that say right there?